We slept outside again last night. And we actually managed a full night last night. So nice on this sheepskin rug. Probably we did that for warmth. It was nice and clean. We probably should have put a blanket on top of it so we didn't dirty it again. We'll have to wash it again now. And our little one's going, oh, more effort. It's starting to get sunny in this side, but otherwise we're in the dark side. And that's influential because we've just been clipping parts from how to get the sun on us but not in our eyes. Maybe not. We've just been clipping parts from this YouTube thing on like a lecture one of The Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is about the collective dream, which is called a myth. We learned a myth is actually the collective dream and personal dreams. It's all about symbology and bringing lots of different mythology from all over the world and all over the cultures and from many different time periods. We're doing all right with our words. We're just thinking what words to use. And showing bringing the denominating factor, the common denominator, the theme out of it. And we live in a world where everyone perceives things to be outside of them. I mean, there's loads of anxiety around lots of things, but some of the anxiety for us is to do with us sharing our ways, because and understanding the brain and how it works inside, and it being a black box inside, how everything external of us is a projection of our own internal reality. And so anything that we perceive to be outside of us is actually a reflection of the inside of us. And that's a really hard concept to get your head around and then explain, because we're having trouble explaining it now because we've got other ones of us going, what about this and what about that? Or if we were to speak like other people, we could say that we're hearing you now say, well, what about this and what about that? What about this and what about that? And so like our experience, although it's very different from many others and people's that we watch, it's just the extreme opposite of the spectrum, where most people see everything as being outside of them, which is kind of where some of us came from. We would have said all of us because we didn't know about the many aspects of us before. But when we reflect back on our life, it's always been there. Our intellectual brain just wouldn't have been able to handle it. And because the suicidal ideation was so strong, the co-collaboration of all of us in this body have had to wait for the right moment for things to be made aware and present to our conscious mind. And so for us, our alternate personalities and our little ones are exactly the same frequency as when people say their spirit guides or their guardian angels or their parrot animals. It's all exactly the same thing. It's just how our conscious intellectual belief system, programmed domesticated mind, how ready it is to embody certain understandings and interpretations, because for us knowledge is useless unless it is embodied, unless it is experienced through applied action and tangible experiences. And so and we've got all of them and so many so many heroes adventures in a hero's adventure, apart from the most common one of 2.4 children, have a relationship, get a house, have a kid. So yeah, The Hero of 1,000 Faces has been really profound. We've been taking clips of that this morning. It's the book that we're reading in our book club with Rencord, which is the Discord community that goes with Ren, and Ren is absolutely amazing. If you've not heard of Ren and his music, if you don't like deep music and if you don't want to be taken to many different emotional experiences on all of the spectrum, then don't go listen to him. But if you want to just be brought into complete awe of artistic genius, creativity and talent from so many perspectives of film, music, play any instrument, sing, voices, production, just blow your mind. And each of his music as well comes into a tangible story of one. And so, yeah, we're on Shintosai now doing this, starting in the back garden, because, well, this is where we've slept for the last 2 nights with the full moon full supermoon Pisces eclipse in 25 degrees 40 minutes. Yeah, and this is really powerful and magical for us because our main axes is we're a North Node and Leo. We're Leo rising and Leo ascendants by something like 29 degrees 22 of Leo, and then our North Node is 29 degrees 28 of Leo. It actually turns out when we did our astrological chart for our cat Zendaya that he's got this same main axes, which is the Leo Virgo cusp and the Pisces. Sorry, Leo Virgo cusp and the Aquarius Pisces cusp. And so this full moon, our Pisces, we've got Mercury in our Pisces, but it's house 7, which correlates to Libra. And all the energies at the moment are really powerful because we're working with the global axes, which is the cardinal energies of, which starts at 0 degrees Aries, and then goes into Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. And these energies are actually all energies that were very influential to us in our childhood. Mum Aries, stepmum Aries, father Capricorn, stepbrother Cancer, brother Libra. So it's really interesting. And there's actually an astrological, the Grand Kite. We've heard of this from Molly McCord and Jenny Florence's sister, Jocelyn Florence, and Jenny's from Moon Magic Tarot has just done a beautiful little video on it as well. And so it's the Grand Kite trine. It's an Earth trine, and this is unprecedented in history before, and this information's thanks to Jocelyn, who's giving credit to Steve Judd for the research, because this is some amazing research to put the focus and energy into this. And so basically the 3 outer planets, which are the planets that are generational planets, they affect all of us all of humanity in generational groups of energy. And so your Pluto, your Neptune, and your Uranus are creating a trine. And with this full moon Pisces eclipse that's just happened, the moon is opposite the sun in a full moon, and so therefore the moon has been conjunct Neptune in Pisces, which is also conjunct Saturn, which is your earthly dense energies. Saturn is the world card in the tarot. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Capricorn's the devil card in the tarot. For us, the devil means the earthly dense energies. The earthly dense energies are the contracted, compressed energies of the expanse, the seen, tangible, compressed, contracted energies of the expansive energies of Jupiter. So the earthly energies, the devil, the heavenly energies, the cosmos. It's when you've got your rainbow and you're working at it from a scientific terminology standpoint, then your red is your earthly energies, the tangible, the seen. It's the longest, slowest wavelength with the lowest frequency and the lowest amplitude but the longest wavelength. And then your violet going up to your crown chakra is the unseen, the non-tangible for your 5 physical senses, but it is tangible if you dive inwards to your subjective reality through your 6th multi-energetic sense. And so this is what the Hero of a Thousand Faces says from an external point of view, with the mythology, the collective dream and the personal dream, and bringing it all together. But that's an objective standpoint. And we've been dancing in a society for so long now where there's where it's about the masculine energies, it's about the objective standpoint. The objective standpoint for us is where everything comes from one person expressing their subjective internal experience, and if they express their subjective internal experience in such a way that aligns with someone else that expresses their subjective internal experience in such a way, and then someone else, that then becomes an objective agreement. That's what our understanding and description of it is so far. This is really going off from one. We were going to start going out the front and seeing what flowed through from our noticing of our flowers and the colours out the front, so we will get there, but this is obviously needed to come out as well, because I know whatever our conscious mind thinks needs to come out is just the catalyst to get us to do something, and isn't really the underlying need of what needs to come out or wants to come out in that reason. And we just lost our trail with the here of the objective and the subjective. So everything that this YouTube video that we've been watching of the Hero of a Thousand Faces lecture 1, says it from the objective standpoint, and it brings in Star Wars and Star Wars, The Matrix, The Lion King, all of that. But for us, Top Gun came into it this morning as well, because we clipped 4 clips of 1 minute from a section of this video, and then did our journalings on it, which happens in our own Discord community. Because for us to learn to connect all of us alternate personalities, and because all of our alternate personalities are just our body that's fragmented, it's not just a fragmented mind, it's a fragmented body. We've been learning our own unique learning style, which is the best thing anyone can do on the healing journey. One of the best things anyone can do on the healing journey is write their own story. But some people don't find it very easy to write, so we're writing our own story in our unique way of how we journal and do everything that we do. And then whatever we were just saying before that is the other thing to do that's healing. We can't remember, we got lost on that as well. We really hate being able to see how many people come in live. You see people coming in live and going, and coming in live and going, and that's it's amazing, because when you see people coming in live and going, coming in live and going, it's just teaching us great emotional resilience, because we don't want to be one of those people that get sucked into doing stuff for views, or doing stuff for this, or doing stuff to be liked. We want to be true to our deepest heart core values and lead by example, but stay strong to our own truth, so that others can get that energetic experience. But I suppose that's the development of, for us, we'd call it the development of our little uns, and their confidence, so that they don't get impacted in that. And that whole different sayings like rejection is protection, and we don't like a lot of those words though. But anyway, our alternate personalities are our body. We can remember what we were going on about. Which are the different systems of the body. But it's not just like it's an alternate personality system belongs to the auditory system and the visual system, although there will be some like that, but there will also be some that have part of the audio and part of the visual. It's all very different, and it's not so linear and simple. But it's our sensory systems, but it's also our body systems, and so it's our body speaking to us. And so in the YouTube clip we watched this morning on the Here Over 1,000 Faces, it does speak about living in a society, living in a system, but from the objective standpoint. And for us, it's the internal subjective standpoint. And we've, not consciously, but our life experiences have shut down certain internal systems of imagination, so that narratives and stories don't create distractions for us. And so our gift is that we are finally attuned to our deep subjective sensory feeling, sensations of feeling in the actual body. Yeah, my lovelies. And very sadly, for very many decades, it's been through pain and suffering, which is why we've got to get ourselves to a certain point before we fully go out there and share. And I feel we can't fully go out there and share because we can't produce what we want to produce anyway. But I feel we can't produce what we want to produce because that won't happen until we're fully ready on both parts, for us and the viewer. And because we understand about what one consumes, they're absorbing. And if one does absorb energy like us, then you don't want to absorb energy from someone that isn't really fully balanced and centered inside. But then we watch loads of people, but they're people that aren't fully balanced and centered inside, because that's the majority of people out there. So we really set ourselves high targets, but we watch them because they are beautiful people, but also because that gives us the unseen, subtle energetic body, unseen experience to get ourselves centered by recognizing what's not centered, not judging, not any of that, although that is part of the journey as well, to then get past that. But then when we judge someone else, really, it's a signpost to what we're judging in ourselves. And so yeah, when we're with the book, we read the book silently in our head. we then read the book aloud and record it, and then we listen to that recording. No, we haven't managed that for Hero of a Thousand Faces yet. We've only managed the first two bits, but we're meant to, would prefer to then listen to it, the recording, and then listen to the recording again and take notes. Although we would actually listen to the recording before bed, so our dream time gets involved, then listen to it in waking state, and then listen to it and take notes. So that would be 5 goes of just doing one chapter, so it uses up a lot of energy. And we have done that with, what was the first book? That was really deep, and that was so symbolic. 1984 by George Orwell. And that was symbolic on the numerology and so many things, and not a book we would normally read with that dystopian energy at all. God, we actually sound a little bit book nerdy and intelligent with our wording, don't we? It's shocking us. So then it was another one that was quite a read, Kurt Vonnegut, which Breakfast of Champions, which was just like, I don't know, you couldn't really tell any structure in that at all, but that was great because we didn't need to get it, which was normally like us, because normally we wouldn't get stuff. But it kind of reminded us of us. so yeah, the books have been really interesting. And then so we're doing this one, then we're going to do Alice in Wonderland, and then which we're going to read live on our Shinto's channel first for that one, and then we're going to do Good Omens. So they're really interesting books, and they've all kind of been inspired really from some of Ren's favourite books as well. So yeah, we've gone on a long one there. That all needed to come out. Now we just want to flip you round. So we actually managed in the garden this hole. So the back garden for us symbolises the subconscious, because it's private and it's unseen. Although some people can see others' subconscious because it can burst to the surface. But this was an empty hole by about 1.5 to 2 feet. It's been empty for about a month and a half. We've almost fallen in it a few times. We finally managed to get that filled with rocks. So that's very symbolic, because for us that means that we've managed to fill a hole that's related to water energies and drainage energies in our subconscious energetics of our body, so in the deepest layers of our body, which really kind of goes into the intestines, because we're working with the Pisces full moon. That's the Pisces Virgo axis. Virgos is all about the intestines and the bacteria and gut health, and emotion is created from our standpoint from a chemical reaction, which is the fuel in your body and how that gets processed, which is your intestines. A prolonged emotion creates a mood. A prolonged mood creates a character trait. A prolonged character trait creates a personality. So for us, this all then connects to DID. We did our shorts videos and all the different probiotics we were going to take and our fermented food. We've actually ended up buying some fermented food as well, with like some kimchi. And then our little ones get excited. We still keep craving like dairy. And finally, yesterday we bought some raw milk and some raw cheeses so that we get the dairy coming in, but it's all just as raw and natural as one could get. And it's working. It is working. Thank you for sharing, my lovelies. And so the symbolism of our back garden, the subconscious with that drainage hole, it's a drainage hole. It's related to water. It's filling a hole. It's filling a hole in the subconscious. It's filling a void going deep into Mother Earth. And so this is all the Pisces, Virgos energies. Pisces is water. Our Saturn and is conjunct Lilith, the dark feminine, and the mysteries in Virgo in house 2. So it's the house 2, house 8 axis. So all of this is related to our career and where we will be going. And we know when we listen to people's stories, they always say about where they've come from, but it's a story about where they've come from. And for us, we learn best through watching. And so we're not the best at sharing our story in words, conventional understanding. And so we've been sharing our story, and people actually get to see where we've come from. And although that's been very challenging for a lot of us as well, very embarrassing and feelings of shame and all kinds of emotions, at the same time, it's given us that tangible experience to experience those emotions, to navigate them. And so going back to that grand kite, Earth trine, you've got your Neptune conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is the mind, which most people see as the intellectual mind, the mind up here, the brain. But for us, the mind, if you reverse engineer, the mind goes back from you've got the consciousness of the electromagnetic mind, the soul that incarnates in the body. But for us, the soul's mission is to harmonize and align with the human body to express that beauty. And the harder the body the soul has incarnated into, so if you've incarnated into a body that's very not aligned, got maybe disorders and diseases that you get from birth, or maybe you don't get nurtured with the optimum food and love and environment as you're growing up, and so then they get switched on as you get the nerves, the disorders and diseases and ailments get switched on as you're growing up, or it can happen throughout later life. The younger it happens, generally the harder it is on the body. But I mean, some people can have a body that's not necessarily functioning, like a standing, walking body. They might be, what's Shane from Shane and Hannah? I think, is he paraplegic? He's in a wheelchair and he can talk and he's got an amazing mind. But he can't like use his body in certain ways. But he's grown up with a lot of love and he's got a beautiful wife and a beautiful relationship and he's very happy and wants to show how you can be extremely happy in a body that doesn't function like a conventional body, because you'll get normal people that might lose a limb or get wheelchair bound that then can't find that happiness because of the shame, the judgment that's put upon it. So it's to do with the love and the nurturing, and how we develop to what kind of acceptance. And there's a difference between a settling acceptance and an acceptance of still wanting to explore and adventure and expand, but still being able to be present and accepting, but not present and settling. And so the Saturn and Neptune in Pisces conjunct is like the tip of the kite, and then you've got the triangle bit, and on one side you've got Uranus and Taurus, so that's going to be moving into Aries within the next 2 years. Neptune's going to be moving out of Pisces. No, sorry, Taurus is going to be moving out of Uranus is going to be moving out of Taurus into Gemini in the next 2 years. Neptune and Saturn are going to be moving out of Pisces into Aries in the next 2 years, and on the other side, you've got Pluto, which is going to be moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. And so you've not had three outer planets that affect the whole of global humanity be in a harmonic alignment, but also move out of a sign within such a short period of each other, within 2 years of each other. Because these are all energetics that take like Pluto's 84 years to do a cycle. Saturn, I think something like 30, around 29, 30 years, 28 to 30 years to do a cycle, because you've got your retrograde periods, and there's no perfect circles in an orbit. Sometimes it's an elliptical orbit. So then I think 84 for Pluto. No, is it 84 for... Anyway, it's between 30 for Saturn. Maybe it's... 248 years is Pluto, sorry. So you're between Saturn 30 years, Pluto 248 years. So that means 84 years could be Uranus or Neptune. We haven't got all of it memorized completely yet. But we're going from Pluto in an Earth sign Capricorn, cardinal Earth, Uranus in a fixed Earth, and Neptune in a mutable water into... Neptune from mutable water into a cardinal fire Aries, and Pluto from a cardinal earth into a fixed air of Aquarius, and Uranus from Taurus fixed earth into Gemini mutable air. So we're going into the fast masculine energies after coming out of the feminine energies. Oh wow. And so yeah, just in this moment now as babbling, what's really exciting about that is, for us, we've been more connected to the subtle energetic body, the unseen energetics, our whole life. Not that we knew that, but we have known our whole life that we're backwards, and if we don't understand something, explain it to us backwards and we'll get it. And so what we now know about the subtle unseen energetic world is that it's backwards to the seen tangible world. And so because we are living in a more masculine dominant space society, not as in it's been built up by males, although it has been built up by males, in the fact that it is more masculine in its part and in its energetics and in the way it functions and rules and governs. And if the what's seen tangible is more masculine, that's because the unseen is feminine, because it's the opposite, it's backwards. And so therefore, if those three generational planets that are all coming out of your Earth, Capricorn, Cardinal, feminine, and your Taurus, Earth, fixed feminine energies, and your Pisces, your feminine mutable water energies, all going into air and fire, it's your air and your fire that's masculine. So if now the unseen energetics is going to transition on the global humanity generational impact from feminine into masculine, that means that the seen tangible is going to go from masculine into feminine, which is what's happening anyway. You're getting lots of people now and astrologers bring in more of the feminine asteroids, and because there's only two planets. If you say about the masculine energies, and that's how our systems in society are governed, and it has been generally because of masculines, but even now you've got women that are governing and being more masculine in their energetics, because that's what they've been brought up in, and that's kind of what you've had to do to make it in today's world. But the planets and all of our mythology and everything was created from kind of more masculine male energies as well, male in people but masculine energies too, because there's only two planets, which is the moon and Venus, that are feminine. The other planets are all masculine energies. So that's why more asteroids and more feminine energies have been brought in, and that's why the moon is really making an impact because of her feminine energies. The north and south node, Lilith with the mysteries, because the feminine energies is the subjective, it is the internal. And one thing that really helped us on this journey was coming to the realization that you can't, not say you, because you can do absolutely what you like, but we can't follow someone else is system. Like, being human is to live our own experience, not attempt to live someone else's system, someone else's experience. And like we said earlier, because this is what we do, we dance from thing to thing and then go back and finish it off, which is happening a bit more now. Like we started saying earlier, that everything that's being created and written is just comes from one person's subjective experience, their ability to express that subjective experience, and then the more people that express their subjective experience and those experiences overlap or align, that becomes the objective agreement and more of a fact. And so if everything's just come from that in the first place, then who's to say they're right or wrong? But this is when we're very much still in duality mind, and it's not about duality mind, right and wrong, but it is, because Earth is made up of opposites. The tangible that's come into form, that is the Earth, is made up of opposites. It's made up of that push and that pull, the Saturnian and the Jupiterian archetypal energies, even the body. And this is where we have our tangible experience, where we're embodying the knowledge, because in our body, to function your body, to function a muscle, when you contract one muscle, so when we are bending our arm like this, one muscle is activating, which is your tricep, it's contracting, it's doing Saturnian energetics, and then the tricep is expanding, doing Jupiterian. Yeah, we're going to stop saying that word because it's getting a bit challenging. But you've all got two muscles working in synergist together. And we've learnt this from our young yoga teacher training and actually doing it physically. But for us, that's the masculine energies. That's thinking in the part of the muscles and two muscles working together. But really, it's not just two muscles working together. Two muscles work together on a fascia train, and that creates then a system. So that's why you might get, that's referred fascia pain. You might get pain somewhere like up here that's related to your leg, because the longest nervous system in the body goes from your heel all the way up the body up to your head. And so when you bring in the nervous system and the fascia trains, you can then correlate that and interconnect that and relate that into your energetic meridians, which is what the terminology for a channel that the energy flows down. A meridian is a channel that the energy flows down. Energy is chi. In India, energy is prana, and the channel is called a nadi. Don't know what the energy is called in Thailand, but the channel's called a sen line. So it's all the same thing. A channel is just a tube. It's a drain pipe that the water flows down. And we live in the most amazing quantum bioorganic tubular bodies. And so this has been a big one for us, understanding when people say about channeling entities outside of them, we're still coming to grips with how we use that language, because for us, that's just their imagination describing what's happening outside of them because of that dimension that they're dancing in. For us, we could channel that same information, but we dance on the dimension of the deepest center core, where of source energy, which comes from the void, the blank black canvas, where pure potential exists and pure creation stems from. And then you go up through the different dimensions where it could be focusing on a subjective experience that's projected outside of them, and so you will experience ghosts and entities and all kinds of things. It's really fascinating and interesting to align it all and navigate it all. And because I suppose that's the interconnectedness of everything as well, which is what we're doing. It's not what we've consciously done, but it's what we're, because of our diversity, it's what we've had to do, because we have the people, the personalities inside us that are either end of the spectrum. And if you've got that either end of the spectrum, you've got the seesaw with black one end and white the other end. That's that line, the linear perspective of explaining things. When you put that line together, it becomes the circle, so the black becomes the white. Now that can be quite a hard concept to grasp. So if we put that into colour, let's put that into yellow. And if you go onto your computer and you want to have a dark yellow, which almost turns into a browny, mucky yellow and then eventually black, or into a really bright, light yellow and eventually white, then that's yellow on the whole thing. And when you bring the circle together, you've got the darkness and the bright. So you're either in where the sun's shining, or you're in the shade, you're in the shadow. It's just kind of like, you can do it in pixel dots as well. There's more space between the pixel dots if you want it brighter than if you join them in together and they're really close. And that brings back to yoga again. Yoga is about creating space in the body, and you can see if your teeth aren't aligned and they're crowded, it's because the body's crowded and it hasn't got enough space inside. The gap in the teeth shows you, each tooth relates to a meridian, relates to an organ system, shows you where the gap is in your body, where it's filling, it's not clearing out properly. And what's been massive for us lately is we've actually managed, not every day, but we've actually managed to start doing a couple of minutes of rebounding, which is helping the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system doesn't have a heart like the circulatory system has to pump the blood around the body. It needs help, and so therefore rebounding ends up taking helps the body get the toxins out of the body, and the toxins in the body can manifest in a physical form, root chakra, diarrhea, vomiting, spots, or it can manifest out in the second chakra of the chemical reactions that then goes up to the brain and creates nasty thoughts, judgment, self-judgment, self-criticism, suicidal ideation. So the toxins in the body can be expressed or released in many forms. And so the fact of what we do in our garden when we can do it is a real, for us, because we're dark inside, deaf, blind and dumb, what's happening in our immediate environment shows us what's happening inside, and that's how we've been learning about ourselves. So that drainage hole with the eclipse energy, sleeping outside the last 2 nights under the full moon eclipse, it being our main axis, is really influential. And we just managed to start sanding this down yesterday. You can kind of see the difference. We're not going to do it anymore. It's really hard work. But that is basically it's the top layer, it's the superficial. So Capricorn rules the bones, it rules the deepest inner part of our body, the densest, the red, the root chakra, but it also rules the surface, the superficial layer of muscles, which is, so it's like the crown chakra. So each chakra, if you just say each chakra on its own, that's very simplistic. We actually have all of the chakra colours in each chakra. So when you're working with the bones, the deepest part of the root chakra, we're working with the red of the red. When you go up to the crown chakra, if you're working off the red in the crown, you could be, we haven't got this one quite yet, we're realising when we do the terminology, you're working within the red of the purple. So the skin is still Capricorn, but it's the outside. We're going to stop there because we haven't quite got the terminology for it all. So we're going to go out of the darkness. Oh, it's so cool. It's with Star Wars, and if you only knew the power of the dark side. And on Rencord, we're called Dark Side of the Moon. because it's the children of the moon, and it's really cool because we're called dark side of the moon, because for us the dark side is the feminine, it's the nurturing, it's the receptive, it's the subjective. It's really important. Just have some of our coffee. We weren't expecting to be on this long, but that's always the case, isn't it? Black coffee. We've started doing our best to eat with our hormones as well. And so with the dark side of the moon, we love it because we love the music. Is it Dub Side of the Moon? We love that one with Pink Floyd. And we were born on solar eclipse. We were born on the dark moon, so the day before a new moon solar eclipse. And because we're not, well, we've been told we've been psychic by many people, but we haven't actually tapped into that. But with the COVID, we knew COVID was going to happen. We even said it was going to happen, but not that COVID was going to happen, not that something was going to happen. We just said that the systems were going to start failing, and there's going to be like a global thingy where chaos was going to be caused and a lot of fear was going to be instilled. But that's what needs to happen for systems to change. And what we also preempted our seizures and stuff like that. We didn't say it was going to be seizures. We just knew. We said something was going to happen in a couple of weeks and it's going to debilitate us. And so we also have worked out, oh, look at Worm, he's hiding in the veg again. We've also worked out that this February 26 is going to be really profound for us personally, because it's the closest solar eclipse to our birthday. And we've watched something of Pav Gregory's since, which says that this 2026 February eclipse is going to be insane. And so we completely understand why everything's happened to us like it's happened to us, to prepare us for all of this, to share, because for us, systems need to be, when you've got your statistics chart and it follows the majority, which I suppose is a democratic vote, that's not what systems ought to follow from our perspective. You need to get the outliers, create systems that include the outliers. Oh, we can't show you Worm now because he's come out. I wish I'd done it before. That includes the outliers. And when you create systems that include the outliers, then you're inclusive of everyone. And that is what will create a global harmonic nation. We're going on and on and on. What we wanted to come here for was this. Should we say hello to Worm? Hey, gorgeous boy. How are you? Bless you. Yeah, bless you. Enjoyed Sen's food, didn't you? Our garden's looking wonderful. But what caught our eye this morning was finally, so this is something that we didn't sow. This is Beginnings of C. Come on, where's our words? Calendula. And it's an orangey, it kind of looks more red at the moment, although I don't know if we can really get a great view of it. Rather than pushing the camera in, if we do that, it works better. There we go, well done, remembered, thank you guys. So it kind of looks red more than orange, but if you kind of getting closer, when it opens up, it's going to be more orange, but we can't really capture that now. So up here, we just noticed on this that the nasturtium is coming out too. And this nasturtium is orange, whereas our other nasturtiums are yellow. But we can't get them to focus. But those nasturtiums over there are more of, well, this is where our littles get really perspective. They're more of we would say they're an orangey yellow. But there's the whole thing of an orangey yellow and a yellowy orange. And we've got these ones as well. Now these taste really peppery. Orangey yellow or yellowy orange? I would say they're an orangey yellow rather than a yellowy orange. But they're the only colours that we have, and we've managed to tame the nasturtiums because they can go a bit mad. But here, it is more orange. And so we were kind of like this morning when we noticed that, it's when we come out of our door, the two on our right hand side are orange rather than yellow. And this is why we consciously came on this live. We didn't realise we were going to do 40 minutes before actually coming out. We were like, well, what does that mean? And like, we really wanted to know what the symbolism was of these two orangey flowers, because a flower is more of the flower and if you go into the seed of life, and then you've got the flower of life, and then you've got the fruit of life, and when you go into the vibrational frequency of food as well, food from nature, like plants, is considered a higher vibrational frequency food. So, like, apparently, if you're a true yogi, we won't go into the babble on that though, that you're meant to be a vegan and eat high vibrational food. But in this modern day, a lot of that stuff is written, it's traditional, it's ancient, it's not written for a modern world context. And this goes back to we believe the current world we're living in, certain ancient traditional texts like that don't work for the majority of the modern world, but you can still be a true yogi, because for us a true yogi is fully being aligned and listening to one's own inner being and one's own inner self. And if one of us modern humans, this day humans, has a lifelong history of both parents that have suffered trauma, that have been in the war, that have suffered rape, sexual abuse, that have suffered physical ailments and diseases and syndromes, and really suffered from every energetic centre, then Tito Popai, Tito Momo. We've gone deep now. Thank you, my lovelies, and I'm really proud of us. Thank you for sharing, my lovelies, and I'm really proud of us for feeling the emotion but being able to manage the emotion. And our body, you can say our mind and our body's connected because our body responds. If you look at someone and they're speaking but their body language doesn't seem to align with their verbal language, they've trained themselves in their body language and there isn't this alignment there, and they're not healthy for us personally to be around. So someone in the modern world that is really going deep into their inner being, which is what the journey of involution is your Sanskrit for your inner journeying. It's evolution inwards. It's the feminine energies. It's what we need more of now, so that we can become at more peace and harmonious with our own internal being, and then we'll stop killing nature and trees and everything around us that allows us to live and breathe. And so that might mean that you have to heal the aspects of the body, the parts of the body where the nervous system have been shut down, where there is no light, there's no lit up nervous system, the body's in shadow, that is darkness. Those are the bits that wanting to become aware and be made lit again, because everything in our brain, the condensed wormy wiggly parts of our brain, is the mirror reflection patterning of our body patterning and energetics. And this is our, now when we incorporate and we speak, we're bringing in our reflexology. Your whole body is represented in your hands, your feet, and your head. That's your reflex points. We're bringing in our energetic understanding from your Indian perspective and your Chinese perspective. It's very surface. We don't go very deep, because as soon as one starts going deep into another system, they're not going to find their own authenticity and their own unique systems and ways of being. And for us, the world, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. And that hits us deep to our core, because we've had death driving us our whole life. And so we're really coming alive now, and it's awesome. It's still a daily complicated dance, but we are getting there, and it's just so incredible. And so we bring in polarity therapy, we bring in our sound healing, we bring in our yoga. We're really trained we did the first level 1 and level 2 of our younger yoga teacher training, which is all about posture and alignment. But we did lots of that, so we did 4 years. But we didn't pass that, although we did pass the bit we didn't think we'd pass and that no one else thought we'd pass. So in our eyes, we passed that. But we weren't meant to pass that, because you're not allowed to do anything else with it. And living in this multi-dimensional age where everything is moving faster, it's not about being dictated to by others. It's about knowing yourself so well and so deeply, and standing so strong and true in your own authenticity, because you've asked yourself what makes you come alive. And when you discover what makes you come alive, that is what the world needs. It needs more people that are deeply and truly authentic in their heart, because the heart is the bridge of the earthly dense devil energies and the heavenly cosmic energies. And it's when that energetic being of us, that soul of us, that soul consciousness of us, the electromagnetic field, aligns through the heart filter of heart value systems with the chemical body, the physical body, the chemical reactions that happens in the gut. And we've gone off on one massively, and Richard top up all day, top mum all day. Oh, thank you, my lovelies. And so what we just went off on massively, we've realised in this moment with the orange of the nasturtium that's in our hanging basket, hanging up off the ground, with the yellow of the nasturtium, which is the tamed wild plant that could be considered the weed, but it's peppery, and we don't know if this is true from conventional society, but from our beautiful Littleton's abstract creative mind and our reflexology and our knowing our body and our yoga and knowing pain and suffering, pepper is an amazing essential oil for releasing physical pain in the body. And so therefore, if you're eating peppery stuff, that's going to help you release the pain and detox you from an inside out. Turmeric is also an amazing one for reducing inflammation, but you need your piperine to activate the turmeric because it's oily, and so therefore pepper comes in on so many forms. And that's the yellow, and that's the orange, which is it's the combination of the second chakra, the sacral chakra, the biggest, the create sacral energies, the central energies, the moon and the sun. Oh, and that's going into the ivy, and it's about the sun's the masculine, it's the outer body, the moon's the feminine, the inner body. And when we bring these two into union and harmony, and this is where I'm not allowed to say her name, and this is where Witch and Scythe, she says something about the esoteric soul or soul star or something is actually in your solar plexus area. And so it's what we just said about the personalities, and everything that goes on in our brain is coming from the chemical reaction that's going on in our guts, and how you hear lots of people talking about the gut brain, the brain, but you've also got the heart brain. And for us, the heart's the most important from one perspective because it's the first organ that is developed. But from another perspective, the gut brain is the most important because that's what really is first developed when you're in your mother's womb as a baby receiving the nutrients. And so yeah, the symbolism of the nasturtiums, the red, the orange. So you hold on though, but the yellow's on the left and the orange is on the right. And that's when we came out of our house. The right is the past, the masculine. The left is the present and the feminine. With this dimension of energy we're dancing within. We know there's other people that says it's different, but we believe that they're working on different levels, because if you look at the pattern of the body, it's zigzag. So if you're going from outer to outer to outer to outer, that's like the superficial, that's the outer. But if you're going from inner to get that same outer energetics, that's on the outside. But if you start on the inside, you could be going inside deeper, inside deeper, inside deeper. So it's all to do with that zigzag of the line or the curve. And this is where, when some of us changed our name to Zanoni Snowflake, the Z and the S are that zigzag, they are that curve, they're the masculine, they're the feminine, they're the showing the energetic patterning that's going on. And so the orange is on the right, the past, the masculine, and they have just come into, well, I don't know if it was today, it could have been the last couple of days, I know we noticed that the other day, but they're just more opening up. So they're coming in, they're not coming into fruition, because that's what happens when a fruit happens, isn't it? Blossoming, they're blossoming into bloom. We're losing our words. Because we're losing our words, that goes to show that this energetics around the flower, which is before the fruit and after the seed in the sacred geometry, is waking up and coming to life. So in our masculine past energetics of our body, because it's on the right hand side, Tito Tomomo, as we're coming out of the house, because if we came into the house, it would be on the opposite side. So your house is symbolic of your temple in your vessel. So as we're coming out of our temple, our vessel, as we're coming out of our body, as we're coming from our subjective experience into our objective experience, which is what this is all about. So our masculine past energetics, the past energetics holds the trauma. So the traumas are being released. No. The pain and the suffering from the trauma is being released for a new perspective from the mind, from all the effort we've put in with our whole foods and everything else, from all our different chakra energetics, is allowing us not just to see from an intellectual standpoint the gifts of our traumas, but actually tangibly feel the gifts of our traumas. And that's what in our second chakra, in the past. So the past is the traumas, masculine energetics, the act is the doing. So that means we're going to actually start, because we've been learning to be very patient on ourselves and very gentle with ourselves, because we're not able to do things and we keep judging ourselves from our past domestication and conditioning and way of doing things. And that's shifting now, that's changing. So we are actually going to start producing again, going to start creating again, because those past masculine energetics. Worm, can you come back out here, please? Thank you. You're well done. So we're getting more on it with our peripheral nervous system as well. So yeah, it's waking up as we come out of our vessel, so it's coming out again. So okay, we've done it. We've got there after 50 minutes and 13 seconds, 16, 17. And we can feel it now. We can feel a contraction, a density in our throat going down our sternum, which stops just above our belly button within, which is partly to do with the Sushumna. So it's so fascinating in the present moment what we speak about and how that has an effect and an impact on the actual body. And we just have to be in gratitude to a load of the YouTubers that we've watched and observed and scrutinized and mirrored upon us for this all to be coming together. So yeah, that's really profound and special. And we're going to go. Thank you, portal of the World Wide Web that we use to help the energies flow within us and through us for these insights. This is going to be a really good one for us. And back to before bed, what a real life tangible explanation of how we can interpret our immediate environment around us, to understand what's going on in us, but also be a real-time present moment activation for us inside as well. I think we kind of summarised it a bit at the end as well. Thanks, Eugene. Bye. Have a wonderful, beautiful, magical waking up day. Little Momo. Yes, for sure.